Jillian, it's so good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
CMA Fest is here.
Yes.
After 3 years of waiting. How are you feeling about the whole week?
I can't believe it's been 3 years. I mean, we've just missed it so much. I'm really excited. I have an album coming out tonight at midnight, and then I get to play a show the day after with fans that I haven't seen. So it's going to be really, really fun and just a great way to kick off album release.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the album in a minute, but tell us about how's mom life been over the past few months. It's been a big adjustment for you, I can imagine.
Well, definitely an adjustment. I'm a little bit more tired than I normally am, but he's 6 months old and he's a dream. He's awesome. And I have had so many great examples of how to do both. So like Caitlin Smith and Maren Morris and even like, there's just so many artists, or Elle King. Like there's people that are managing to have a baby, a young little baby, and go on the road. And I just kind of look at them and I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. So we're figuring it out,
Figuring it out.
Yeah.
It's such an exciting time. Like you say, you've got the album coming out at midnight, and by the time this goes out, it will be out there everywhere. And I'm sure the guys in the UK will be listening with great interest. But it's such a good album.
Thank you.
Very deep at times, very emotional, very heavy at times as well. Tell us about the inspiration behind it and sort of what sort of theme you were going for with this project.
Yeah, well, it's been a very long labor of love. So the theme for the record, as the title suggests, I've lived a lot of life in the last 3 years, and I feel like there is something that I never really touched on side A and side B, which is finding the one and committing to love. And there's a lot of that on this record that I never felt comfortable to write about before. And it was the first time that I was actually sitting down to write love songs and not feeling like, ooh, this is so cringy and cliche. Like, I felt it, and I believed everything I was saying. And this word is very overused, but there's definitely a vulnerability here where I kind of feel like people are going to see who I really am, which is like tender and very sensitive, and it's not like the cool like reasons or priorities. It's a little bit more like come into like my most pure heart, sense of self, and so it's a little intimidating. But I think the title suggests, it's kind of a very honest record.
Yeah, and it was a real family affair as well, wasn't it? On the production side, you got us the husband and brother-in-law as well. Tell us about working with those guys and why you wanted to keep it such a sort of closed community.
Well, I will admit, I don't know how intentional it was for it to be this family affair. It just kind of happened. It is challenging because we all know each other very, very well. I chose to bring my husband in to work on this record with Topher, who was my best friend and producer, and they're brothers. So there's like a lot of nuanced personality things going on, and we all work a little bit differently. Brian was really the new blood that came in and challenged everything. So every time Topher and I were like, this is great, let's do it, Brian was like, let's try it 5 other ways. And we were like, oh, wow, okay. And so it really pushed us out of our comfort zone. But I feel like the end result is so much more exciting to me than what I would have naturally done just by impulse. So, yeah, I think there's also something to be said for people that really know you very well, and they can kind of call you on your bullshit too, which I think is a good thing, And also, there were a lot of fights. But it's okay. We got through it.
Yeah, well, the production's gorgeous on this record, and like I'm a sucker for a piano, and like I know you love a piano as well.
Yeah.
And the vocals just so pure as well. It's just such a lovely sounding record. What were you going for from a sound perspective? Was there an intention to sort of let the vocals breathe?
100%. Yeah. So the last time we spoke, I was coming off side A and side B, which were when we would tour, they were pretty track heavy. So you had a lot of other things going on. There was synths and other programming and background vocals that we played during the live shows. And I was really inspired to make a record that didn't need any of that, so I could just play it with a 4-piece band and carry it. And we've still added a lot of things, but these songs really can just perform well on their own. And that was really the kind of idea behind it. But also, I listened to so many classic, timeless records in the last 3 years, and that was really inspiring to me. I wanted to make something that you could listen to 20 years from now or 50 years from now, and it would still hold up. And I hope that we did that.
And personal favourite of mine is Bandwagon, which has been out there for a little while now, and you released it as a single as well.
Yeah.
That one feels a lot more sort of commercial and mainstream than the rest of the album. Was that always an intentional thing to have a single on there that you know you can push to radio?
Yeah, not necessarily for radio. I think if we were thinking radio, it was like Better with a Broken Heart.
Yeah.
But I think Bandwagon is sort of that token, lighthearted, fun song that you need, because there's a lot of...
It's a deep one.
It's a deep one, and I'm okay with that. That's kind of who I am as a person. But yeah, I think Bandwagon and Better with a Broken Heart were kind of our okay, these could be singles, if we do go to radio.
Yeah, Better with a Broken Heart, tell us about that song and working with TJ as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's awesome to be able to get someone of his stature now involved.
We asked him to do it well before he won a Grammy, and then I was like, whoa, this is amazing. TJ won a Grammy, and he's such a wonderful person. And I'm just a big fan. And we knew each other, but we weren't close. And so when I reached out to him, I fully expected no answer or just no thank you, thanks for asking. And he was so open-minded about it. And then he started saying yeah, I'm a fan of you. And I'm like, what? No, what's happening? Just so bizarre. It felt like Twilight Zone. And then when he came in to sing on the song, he just killed it. And, I obviously wanted to make sure our voices sounded good together. And it was like a dream. I felt like there was chills all over my body, and I was like, this is just magical, and felt like a really just a pairing that made sense, from a musical standpoint. Yeah. I at least think so, and I hope he thinks so too. But man, that song I feel like it's the cornerstone of the record. And I feel like for anyone that might not necessarily listen to country music but kind of wants to get into it, that feels like a great way to do it too. So
did that one come first and you sort of built the album around it, or was that one that sort of came later on?
No, it wasn't. We actually wrote that song later than most of the other songs. That and Honeymoon came very late, but that song was the production inspiration for the record. So the minute we cracked the code on Better, we were like, oh, now we know what to do with everything else, because we were a little bit just not quite sure where we were going. I was trying to find my footing with what I wanted the next Jillian Jacqueline record to sound like, and Better gave us that kind of foundation.
And you kicked the album off with The Ocean as well, which I remember you performing in the UK.
Yeah, it probably sounded nothing like what it sounds like now. Yeah.
But you got Charlie Worsham involved as well. Obviously, needs no introduction, one of the best session players and musicians and artists in Nashville, period.
Yeah.
So how much of a privilege was it to have Charlie involved in this?
Yeah. Love that guy so much. And I know you guys over in the UK just really value what he does. And he's just one of those secret weapon people that you don't realize how talented they are until you really take a deep dive. And I'm just obviously another massive fan. We've played shows together, and it made sense because Charlie sang at my wedding. And he and his wife had gotten married in the last few years, and then they had a baby. And so we were kind of on similar trajectories, and I thought he's going to understand these lyrics, and this will make sense for him. And when he cut his vocal, it sounded nothing like it sounds like now. It was this very kind of acoustic guitar, really sweet, simple. And then we just amped it up and kept going, because we were like, this could kind of be driving, and it'll counteract the lyric a little bit if we don't go so sweet with the production. And so I actually don't know if he's even heard the version. He will have heard it by the time this interview comes out. But his vocal is, he's got that Vince Gill, pure, cutting, just beautiful tone, and it just works so well. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Love a bit of Charlie. And another personal favourite of mine, track 10, Sure. Tell us about that one, because that's quite a heavy one, but in a very different sense. It's optimistic, and it's powerful in a very different way to the rest of the album. Yeah. So lyrically brilliant as well. So how does that idea come about? And tell us about that magic moment when you think about that concept.
That song was the first song that I wrote about love that really felt too sweet for me. I was like, I can't say this. I don't know how to be this person. And that was the reason why it had to go on the record, because it scared me so much. And when I wrote it, I came home the day I wrote it, and I sat my husband down, and I was like, I just wrote this song about you, and it's really sweet, and I just want to hear what you think. And I walked into the other room And I just started crying as it was playing. And then I walked back in and he was crying. And I was like, okay, yeah, we'll put this on the record. But, you know, I wrote it with Topher and Lori McKenna. And writing with her is always very special.
Yeah, I was
and
going to say, why does that not surprise me that Lori was involved in that record?
Right? Yeah. Well, she's very good about, you know, letting you stick with your first instinct. And so in the room, you know, when you say something, she's like, yes, say that. And I'm like, can I say that? And she's like, absolutely, you can say that. And Lori gave me permission. So I was like, okay, I can say that. Because the chorus really just kind of fell out and I didn't second guess it. Yeah. And the melody, too. We never questioned the melody. It was just like all at one time, like 45 minutes later, we were like, okay, well, I guess this is it. And it just felt right, but also very brutally, like, intimate for me to claim that, like, the only thing I'm sure of in the world is my love for my husband. That's, like, you know, it's not a cool thing to say. But it's an honest thing to say. Yeah. And
just before I let you go, Jillian, UK plans. So what's going on? It's been too long. We need you back.
I know. Oh God, I know. You guys are probably just so like ready for Nashville to get back over there. Yeah, I mean we are too. Literally, if you could see a to-do list on the Jillian Jacqueline to-do list, the top thing is get back to the UK. That is happening. 2023. We're planning that. Actually, my agent is here this week, so we'll be like scheming about how to do everything.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's going to be music to the ears of the UK fans.
Yes.
I love that. Well,
I can't wait.
Jillian, thank you so much for joining us as always.
Thanks for having me.
And best of luck with the album.
Thank you. Thanks.